Hello, world. Patricia O'Connor here and Frida Reba Darcy. It is Saturday night, uh, the 28th of December, and we are about to be rocking out a new year in here in just a couple of days. And it is Saturday Night Live Bonsai. We're at Frida's place. I am surrounded by a lot of stuff that I got ready for tonight's show. Uh, it's been kind of a couple of weeks in the making in a way, and in another way, I was just suddenly spurred at the last moment by something that I was watching last night while I was doing just what we're all doing right now, watching YouTube videos. So yeah, I'm Patricia O'Connor. I have by my side my sidekick who was just snoring a few minutes ago while I was chasing gremlins. I was I was having a few microphone gremlins, so got a little you always get a little tense before you go live whenever a microphone won't come on or something. So then when you do go live, you didn't take a couple of deep breaths first, so you come on and you're screaming. So yeah, here we are. Here we go. That's what we do. And what I have tonight is a Japanese black pine. I know, what a shocker, right? And then I've got this tub here with pearlite and also, let's see. Here's some. I also have this little thing of net, and I haven't really thought about the part about the wire, the zip ties yet, but I know I have plenty of aluminum wire. That this would be a good time. This would be a good job for aluminum wire, and I've already done a little bit. I've got something in mind. I have something in mind now. To start off with, a couple of years ago, I bought a Japanese black pine from Jonas at Bonsai tonight. I love that tree. I mean, there's just, I can't. And he was telling me at the time that I bought it, it came, it's like it comes with lessons, and I always listen to everything Jonas has to say. And he was telling me how that one of the steps in the making of that tree was to fan out the roots. And what he was saying was, is it's my 17 year from seed Japanese black pine. And the tree is about this tall, and it's got an umbrella top that's about here to here, and then there's about this trunk, and then it widens. Hi Lee, how are you? And then the little tree widens out, you know, about this wide. This part, it's got bark on it just as much as the rest of the tree. The 20-year from seed purchased when it was a 17-year from seed. We're going on 3 or 4 years together, so it's now a 20-year from seed tree. So, how that was made, that wide part of the trunk, it's not trunk; those are roots. So what he did was he took a tree and he planted it. I'm not going to say exactly how he did it because there's several ways. I started one like that using tubes from paper towels. They don't last long enough to get the job done, but you do get some roots that are exposed a long way. So here's what I've done: American pot, hole in the bottom. Hello, Gerardo. How are you this evening? And I have ran a wire through the hole, up the side, attached it to itself, and kind of bent it down and up. And hopefully, I haven't worked all of this out yet, but what I intend to do is make a tube out of this. Sorry, cut the bottom out of this, wrap it in this, making a tube about that big, hanging said tube here, and then filling this with perlite, this meaning this pot, and then filling the tube that we're going to make with perlite. And then and then yeah, and then we do that. Hopefully, it won't take me till this time tomorrow to get all that done, but it's not that much. I think we can do this. I think we can do this without it being too painful. It's already been painful to my neighbors because I'm dropping things on their heads. Um, yeah, they anyway. Tonight is I'm pretty excited about this. Now, here's what: watching that tree, looking at that tree, and knowing how that tree was made. It's like they he grew the tree until the roots were like this long, right above a pot, which meant that they were also down in the substrate down in there. But then after he repotted it, he fanned all those roots out and then probably packed them in peat moss or something, right? To give those exposed, soon to be exposed roots room to fan out and kind of connect the dots. Now, here's the thing: when Japanese black pine roots are exposed to one another like that, they will fuse. A big, they will make a trunk. They will make something that looks very, very much like a trunk. And that's what basically the trunk to that tree is, that big, impressive base and fat, wide base the tree has was all made. Now, so last night, flashing forward to last night, I'm minding my own business, watching YouTube videos, you know, like we do, and I saw Eric. Eric is someone whose videos I watch all the time. Eric Trey, Bonsai, Bay Area Bonsai. He has a store. They sell trees. They sell lessons. They sell bonsai equipment. Uh, he and Jonas, who has uh, the blog Bonsai Tonight, are the two of the main guys who put on the Bonsai Expo every other year here in Oakland. So this is all tied in together. And last night I was watching his show, and he was showing how a couple of years ago he had planted some Japanese black pines in vinyl plastic tubes. They were get away from the computer. They looked to be about this long. They almost looked like vinyl gutter because they were like square and about that dimension, not square, rectangle, and about that dimension of what a vinyl gutter would be, except they were different kind of plastic. They were the same kind of plastic as this, just a little bigger squares. And so he had pines in there that were a couple of years old, and of course they had sacrifice leaders on those that were yay long. I never will get that right as long as I do these. That were about, they had the little sacrifice branch coming off the top was about that big. The trunk of the tree was about that big, and it was planted over a tube that was that long. So when he cut the tree out of that tube, he had long, 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 long. Oh, and the tube was planted over a pot. So when he saw roots coming out of the pot underneath, he knew that he had roots from the top of that tube to the bottom of that tube and in the pot. So what he did was cut open those tubes, leaving the roots in the pot and exposing them, and all this pearlite comes out, which was exactly what I'd already had great luck using was perlite for some of my other trees. I was amazed how fine the roots looked on just perlite. And anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're not here to sell perlite tonight, but I've got a bunch of it standing by just to pull all this off in the end. So what he had was a Japanese black pine that when he cut all of that away and all that perlite fell away, you could see that a lot of that was already barking over, and the tree was standing, was kind of standing. One of them was a leaner, and another one was heavier than that on the top, and it wouldn't stand, so it would be staked up or whatever you would want to do. But he could do that. He could do anything with that. I think in both examples, one of them he repotted. He repotted that part that was underneath. But the part that was exposed, you can bend that, you can twist that, you can shape that. You don't want to break them. You want to be careful. You don't want to cut them when you're trying to get them unexposed. And you don't want to, I'm sure they're fragile, but they're also, could have twisted those and allowed those to become like a twisted trunk. Or you can let those be like spider legs or something of of a um, of a cascade tree that was hanging off the side of something. You know how people do these really organic looking pots now? That might lend itself to it. Or you can make a tree that would be this tall, a tree that is now this tall, and fan those roots out. And in a couple of years, that could be base. Now, in my instance, it made a very believable, very impressive base per tree. Almost not believable because it's this wide and it's that tall. But that's what you want in a Japanese black pine. That guy, depending on how well this one does the needles, could it would be a show winning tree. Jonas does that caliber of work, and if it's not that caliber of work now, it would be a reflection on me, not him. That's a, and it's still a badass tree. So I want to do that. I want to get that kind of results out of roots. This guy already has is already doing. You know, even in that tiny little shot, you can kind of see that there are roots playing their part in this. And I'm not looking to expose a lot of that yet. Like I said, I intend to cut the bottom out of this and then wrap it in that tube and then try to make sure that tube stays together for 2 years until we get the kind of roots we like. Also, we did a show earlier today that's all but finished. I've got some finishing touches to do to it. And in that show, I said that we would be doing tonight's show and what we would be doing. And in that show, I will also have a link to Bonsai's program, so you can see the program I was talking about. You know, not only am I stealing his idea, and it's not exactly stealing his idea. I've been thinking about doing that for a couple of weeks, but when I saw him do that, I got really enthusiastic because A, it was a good video, really was a good video. It's the kind that makes you want to get out and do something. Two, I'd already kind of been kicking that around, so that just like got me going. And three, his results were very inspiring. So, you know, if I'm just gonna just we're just gonna just steal his ideas, that'd be one thing. But I want to go back to the source, and hopefully you get the same enthusiasm that I'm getting from watching that show, and can follow suit in case I. And this is not a direct copy of what he did either. I didn't go out and buy those little rooting tools. We're gonna make ours out of this stuff. And so I guess that's probably my first start. One way this wraps around nicely, and the other way it just comes around and doesn't. That way it doesn't. So I think it goes this way. And then the idea is to hang that on the bracket. Now, the reason, nope, it was the other way. The reason that I picked this tree out of all the ones that we have was because this guy already has a little bit of cool exposed roots going. So uh, that part of the show is most believable. And yeah, I don't know if I can bring that in close enough. You can just all you see is little hair thin little things. But yeah, so this is what we're going to make. This is going to be the shape we make right here. See if I can hold that. All right, do that, Pat. Somehow, do that. No, use this. I have got every tool I own uh, sprawled out around me, kind of winging it. And so I just got all the stuff. I got all the stuff. I got to do that again because I dropped it. And before I do this for finals, I still have to cut the bottom out of this pot, so I can't. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself. And we're not going to go too crazy with it. I'm just kind of catching that catching that wrap I made, and I'm going to go through here and kind of sew this in. Or that's what I think I'm going to do anyway. We'll see how that works. Okay. I could have made this. I could have made this off to the side today, but I thought no, it'll be it'll be art class. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. I hope everyone is having a good holiday so far. We are halfway. We are halfway through this. I've been enjoying it. Frida and I have been enjoying it, and by enjoying it, I mean we've been taking it pretty easy. We've been taking really good care of us, and yeah, we've been taking pretty good care of us this holiday. Work has been pretty cool. Uh, People get crazy during the holidays, and when you're in retail, you just kind of stand back and kind of be ready for anything. But I've got to say, this year has been for the most part, it's been pretty cool. Everybody's everybody's had a pretty good year so far. I want to get it square. Okay, I'm gonna call that probably square, and then we're gonna attempt to. We're kind of sewing this with some aluminum wire, just to just to do it. And then I'm trying to. Oh, there we go. They're behind you, Pat. I'm just kind of using aluminum wire. It's kind of like a staple to hold our tubes together. And I didn't measure the other end that I just made as much as I just kind of as much as I just kind of measured one end by going around this pot, and then the other end I just kind of made square to it, knowing that this was cut more or less square. All right, I'm gonna roll this up before somebody loses it on. And let's see. Speaking of losing on. All right, so again, here's our pot. It's got a piece of wire sticking in there like a projectile, and the idea is one of these sides fits this. I think this in, and after filling it with substrate, we'll do something like that. Maybe I'll make that a little. Yeah, doing that. We'll give this guy that for a little while and let it hang out like that. Maybe throw another wire around here. No, I think let's see how we do. Let's see how we do with that first. So I think the next step would be to get some pearlite. Would be to get some pearlite in there, so we can get. We'll just get that far along, and I don't need this part for that. And Princess was able to mow down her dog treats without even so much as moving, which is which is nice, you know. It's pretty nice work when you can get it. I gotta say, yeah. Be sure and breathe all that. Pat should have a mask on. And this again is not going to be anything but just straight, straight pearlite. And whatever and whatever is and whatever in this is in this pot it's getting started in, which is also perlite. So yeah. All right, that's good. I've got my perlite up to the level that this little wire part does. So that tells me my screen will probably drop down at a desirable level. When done like that, there we go. Could even I think this is probably you could do this. Oh, I didn't think of that. Okay, do this. No, it's okay. You just thought about wiring it to there, and then I'm like, no, stick with the plan. Don't get all crazy. Don't go all crazy. So now the idea will be to take that. I'm taking this down. Take this bench down a little. Okay. So yeah, now the idea is to fill this tube up without uh, getting perlite everywhere. Look at that. That wasn't too bad so far. So far, so good. And this is screen that I get from the hardware store that I work at. Uh, I do have a special relationship with the hardware store that I work at, but you don't really need a special relationship with the hardware store to get screen. If they screen windows or rescreen windows, they probably have scraps, and they probably will probably make you a dollar figure that you would like. Uh, if you were to ask to buy some of their scraps, that's just a great, boom, made a tube. I've got enough, probably. This is like year two for this, and that was probably a couple of bucks worth, maybe $10 worth of scrap. All right, keep going. It's still winging part of this. This all has to set well. Uh, okay. Yeah, good, Pat. Enough perlite. The idea is to not really unpot this, although I could. Yeah, we certainly could. I was thinking I would just cut the bottom out. As she cuts down the side of the pot. Don't really fancy losing the finger, but that be good for ratings, unfortunately. Yeah. He. That's fine. That's fine. We're totally okay with that. Let's see if we can get this. Oh no. Got to reduce this a little. Either I swapped ends and this is the little end, or it lost a little in translation. I would expect a little. That wasn't exactly like fine. That wasn't exactly fine tailored. We'll loosen this up a little and get it going, and then just slip pot it. Now here's what I hadn't thought about until right this minute. I suppose, yeah, I actually do. I suppose I should probably wrap this in black plastic. The exposure to air part is what makes that neat. On the other hand, I don't want to inhibit root growth with light exposure. Now I'm just kind of tickling. I'm just kind of tickling the bottom of this so I can get this cube, which is very square shaped. And since I'm not deep into potting territory yet, not wanting to overly mess with the roots, just kind of getting it out of this square cube and getting something that would fit into this tube without wrecking anything would be a just fine start. So I'm just breaking it up. There we go. I have to go too nuts. Here we go, guys. This tree already has some really pretty exposed roots going on its own. I brought in a bigger tree. I brought in a bigger tree to do this, and then was kind of messing around doing stuff to get ready for the show. And I was like, yeah, you got the wrong tree, right? You got the wrong tree. And I was like, yeah, I got the wrong tree. The other tree would have been nice. It wouldn't have been this one. This one would be a nice tree unto itself. if we just grew the tree you see right here, if I just grew that, that is going to be a stunning tree. I think what we have just done here uh, is going to be even better. It's going to make this tree even better. Boom. Get this down before something happens. All right. The other good thing about the wire that I did that I ran up the bottom is I have Pat Field's ways when it comes to an American pot. This is an American pot. And what I mean by I feel ways is I've always complained about the drainage of an American pot. And this would have been a perfect example of something that this got, yeah, it's full. And this would have been a perfect example of something that has one hole directly in the bottom and it's recessed in a little bit so that after water pours out, that water forms a perfect seal and you don't get adequate drainage. What you want is adequate drainage so that when you water, that the water goes through, and as it goes through quickly. It makes everything wet. It leaves it a little bit of water behind for all that stuff, for all the roots to find in those tiny little holes. But as it leaves quickly, and it pulls a vacuum behind it, which pulls the air in behind it. And that's how you keep from having root rot. That's how you keep from having other fungal issues. When it makes a water seal underneath the bottom of the pot, then only the outside of that seal that's exposed to air is slowly, slower than a wick, evaporating off, and that water just stays there stagnant, waiting on its chance to be the next molecule that evaporates off. So I just don't think they drain well. I mean, they do drain some. I don't think they drain well. So I like to use orchid pots. I was looking for an orchid pot. I thought I had a couple, but I've already gone through my orchid pot. You have to put a screen around the side on an orchid pot, but they drain well and you get really good air to the roots and stuff. All right. This is our show tonight. I am pretty excited about this tree. I am pretty excited about the prospects for this tree. Oh, here we go. I want to punch this down in the soil. Some, yes, yes. Here. And then top this off a little and punch it down. But this is going to be cool. We'll give this a year, you know, whenever. We'll tell you what, we'll give this until it's a good time to repot it after we see roots come out of the bottom of this pot. Now, to finish my thought, the wire that comes up in the bottom of this pot causes it to sit a little crooked, and we've got a little area here to keep the I don't think it's enough to make the pot want to fall over, although that pot needs something else because I don't want it to get upset or I don't want it to fall over. But yeah, I think it is cool that it's got something now that keeps it from sitting just absolutely flat on the flat on the deck. I'll figure that end out before we put it out there because it does look precarious. Another drawback, and it's going to be top heavy. So you know, maybe a holder of some kind. But I'm excited about that. When these roots get that big and they're growing in there, we'll be able to do something cool. I'm not much of a root over rock person per se, but if you wanted to do a root over rock or a root over temple or a root over, that would be a good way to get started. And I've seen some that were bigger, taller, more impressive, and they only took like 2 years at this. Is what was Eric was doing on Bonsai, and that's the link. That's was my enthusiasm for doing this tonight instead of next week or this summer or something. Uh, but I, you know, just thought about it. We have material. I have screen. I can make a tube. We can make this be nice. And so here we go. And I think this is a great tree for that. I appreciate you. Frida appreciates you. Our next drop will be in about 20 minutes when I put the finishing touches on one we shot today. And the one we shot today was more of a bonsai tour. Should probably, if I were really slick, I wouldn't drop it. The the video I did on bald cypress videos tend to do well. So we did a bald cypress video, except holiday videos don't tend to do well. So a week later, that video goes to number one, and I'm about to replace it with first this one and then the next one that I did today. And the one I did today was a bonsai tour. We talked about the front of trees, how we can decide the front of trees, how some of my trees don't seem to have a front because I just like to pick on them like that. And we talked about we got to see some pretty fall colors, even though our bald cypresses are gone. That was just kind of some of the stuff. So that's coming up here. That's coming up here in a little while. And thank you all so much for watching. I think this is going. I think this is going to be cool. It's precarious, but I think it's going to be cool. Thank you all for watching.